The Vought V-173 was an experimental American aircraft built in 1942 to test all-wing aerodynamics. Known as the Flying Pancake, due to its flat disc body and huge dual propellers, it moved away from conventional fuselage design. While mechanically innovative for short takeoffs, its bulbous, flat profile gave it an unusual appearance. The Transavia PL-12 air truck was an Australian agricultural aircraft designed in the 1960s for utility crop spraying. Featuring a twin-boom tail setup, a stubby pod cockpit, and a separate high-set passenger compartment, its visual layout was pure function over form. The disjointed arrangement makes it look like multiple planes patched together. The Stipa Caproni was a 1932 Italian experimental plane featuring a hollow barrel-shaped fuselage that enclosed its motor and propeller. Designed by Luigi Stipa to test ducted fan efficiency, the short, tubby design looked like a bloated tube with tiny wings attached. Despite its clumsy appearance, it provided key data for jet development. The Shorts SC-7 Skyvan was a British 1960s utility transport aircraft built for maximum cargo capacity. Its slab-sided, boxy fuselage earned it the nickname the Flying Shoebox among aviation crews. Rather than using sleek curves, its flat metal surfaces prioritize interior volume over aerodynamic beauty, giving it a heavy, awkward stance. The PZLM-15 Belfagor was a 1970s Polish jet-powered biplane designed specifically for agricultural dusting across Soviet farms. As the only jet biplane ever mass-produced, its tall frame, bulky twin-engine pods, and odd wing struts created a top-heavy look. The strange engine hum and clumsy proportions made it an oddity in jet history. The Northrop Tacit Blue was an experimental 1980s stealth technology demonstrator built for the United States Air Force. Nicknamed the Whale or the Butterbox, its rounded rectangular body and flat belly were engineered solely to minimize radar signature. The lack of traditional curves gave it a bulky, slab-like profile on the runway. The MiG I-320 was a 1940s Soviet long-range interceptor prototype created to evaluate radar integration. Its most striking feature was a large radome mounted directly inside the central engine nose intake, giving it a wide snout appearance. Coupled with swept wings and a bulky fuselage, the nose design ruined its overall aesthetic symmetry. The Kármán K-MAX was a dedicated American skycrane helicopter developed in the 1990s for heavy lifting operations. Built with intermeshing rotor blades and a narrow single-seat cockpit, the airframe looks strangely pinched from the front. The slender profile omits traditional cabin space to optimize payload weight over visual appeal. The Ilyushin Il-20 was a 1948 Soviet experimental ground attack aircraft designed to replace the Il-10. Built to maximize pilot downward visibility, its cockpit was placed directly above the engine and behind the propeller. This unusual arrangement earned it the nickname Gorbach or Hunchback, giving it a top-heavy, awkward profile. The GB Model R was a 1930s American racing aircraft engineered specifically for extreme speed events. Built around a massive radial engine, its teardrop fuselage was exceptionally short and wide, making the wings look undersized. The pilot sat far back near the tail, giving the aircraft a stubby and disproportionate visual balance. The Fiat 7002 was a 1960s Italian experimental transport helicopter designed around a cold jet rotor system. It featured a squat, boxy cabin with small side windows and a tall rotor mast, giving it a top-heavy, utilitarian look. The lack of standard tail rotor assemblies made its structural shape appear incomplete and disproportionate. The DuPont Aerospace DP-1 was an experimental vertical takeoff transport concept designed in the early 2000s. Featuring a thick, slab-sided body with multiple integrated vectoring nozzles, it aimed to blend jet efficiency with vertical lift. The heavy rectangular frame and awkward engine placement gave it a blocky, industrial appearance. The de Havilland Comet AEW-3 was a British airborne early warning variant developed during the late 1970s. Engineers fitted massive bulbous radar radomes to the nose of the classic jetliner airframe. The large swollen nose severely disrupted the clean lines of the base aircraft. The Bonelli UB-14 was a 1930s American transport aircraft designed around the lifting fuselage concept. Its wide airframe acted as a heavy central airfoil, placing the twin engines far apart and leading to twin tail booms. While efficient for cabin space, The flat rectangular main body made the aircraft look overly broad and clumsy. The Augusta A106 was a compact Italian naval helicopter built in the 1960s for anti-submarine duties. Designed to fit on small warship decks, it featured an exposed structural frame, a tiny single-seat bubble cabin, and undersized landing skids. The exposed rear mechanicals gave it an unfinished, stripped-down appearance in flight. The Antonov AN-74 was a Soviet transport aircraft built to operate in harsh Arctic environments. Its most distinct feature is the placement of its turbofan engines directly on top of the upper wing surfaces to utilize the Coanda effect for short takeoffs. This high engine placement gives the jet a top-heavy, hunchbacked appearance. The Aviation Traders ATL-98 Carvair was a British modified airliner built in the 1960s to carry both cars and passengers. Engineers grafted a massive raised bulbous cockpit onto the nose of a standard airframe, allowing vehicles to drive into the front cargo door. This humpbacked front modification gave the plane an unbalanced side profile. The Auftech 400 was a 1980s composite business aircraft designed with an unusual twin-engine pusher configuration, featuring a forward-mounted canard wing paired with rear engines mounted on the main wing. Its layout inversed standard twin-prop geometry. The sharp forward beak and rear props gave it an unconventional, disjointed shape. The Airs LM-200 Loadmaster was an American utility aircraft designed in the late 1990s for cargo hauling. Powered by two turbine engines driving a single nose propeller, it featured a long, boxy nose joined to a tall cargo fuselage. The mismatched nose length relative to its high cabin gave it an awkward, stretched appearance. The Bell X-14 was an experimental American VTOL aircraft built in 1957 to test thrust vectoring systems. Constructed using existing components from other aircraft, it featured open cockpit seating atop a bare, boxy frame with exposed jet nozzles underneath. The utilitarian layout left the airframe looking like an unfinished test rig. The Boeing 707 Falcon was an airborne early warning platform developed using a modified commercial jetliner. The most prominent change was the addition of a giant, swollen radar nose radome alongside flat-side radar panels along the fuselage. This massive front bulge completely transformed the classic airliner into a strange shape. The Sikorsky CH-37 Mojave was a heavy-lift military transport helicopter developed in the early 1950s. To leave the central cabin open for vehicles, designers placed two large radial engines in massive external pods on either side of the fuselage. This created a wide, bulged front profile, resembling an insect with large cheek pods. The Sikorsky R-5 Dragonfly was an early utility helicopter developed for the United States military during the 1940s. Its extremely narrow, tandem-seat fuselage tapering into a thin tail boom gave it a long, spindly look. The high-mounted rotor hub and tiny nose wheel arrangement added to its fragile, gangly overall appearance. The STOL aircraft UC-1 Twin B was an American amphibious aircraft developed during the late 1960s. Built by mounting twin-pusher engines on a pylon above a modified single-engine flying boat fuselage, its configuration looked stacked and heavy. The elevated engines gave the small boat hull an unbalanced, top-heavy visual profile. The Taylor Aerocar was a 1949 American roadable aircraft designed to function as both a car and a plane. Featuring folding wings and a detachable rear propeller boom that hitched behind the vehicle on the road, its cabin kept the styling of a small two-seat automobile. The hybrid design resulted in an awkward, compromised flying shape,